and welcome to another deep dive. We're going to be tackling industrial branding today.
Yeah, we're diving into this white paper from bb&b, a branding agency, to break it all down.
You're really going to want to understand this, especially if you're in that world at all, because a strong brand, even in the industrial world, can be a secret weapon.
It really can.
It's not about, these flashy marketing campaigns like you often see in consumer products.
Right.
What are we really talking about here?
It's fascinating, isn't it? It's about building something much deeper. Trust, credibility, those long-term relationships that are so crucial in that sector.
It's about standing for something in a world that's constantly trying to grab your attention, right? But why don't we start with what industrial branding actually is?
Yeah.
What are we even talking about?
Well, the white paper defines it as crafting a brand identity for the entire company. So think about its values, its expertise, what makes it unique. And it's easy to assume it's just B2B branding with like a different coat of paint, but
Right.
there are unique challenges there.
Okay, so let's say you're an engineering firm. You're hyper-focused on technical specs, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. What's the challenge there?
Well, I think that passion for the technical can actually be a stumbling block because it can overshadow the need to connect with customers on an emotional level. And that's huge, even when you're selling something as seemingly unemotional as industrial machinery, right?
So how do you balance that, showcasing that technical strength while still making a human connection?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
Right.
And the white paper really dives into that. But even before we get there, I think it's important to answer a more fundamental question.
Yeah.
Why should anyone even care about branding?
Because time is money, and I have a feeling this white paper argues that good branding can save you both.
Yes.
What are we talking about here? Increased sales, better deals.
All of that and more. The paper outlines 7 benefits of a strong brand, and they all tie back to 2 things: creating value and easier management.
Those are 2 things I think we can all get behind. So let's get into the specifics. What are some of the benefits that our listeners should be paying attention to?
Well, one of the most compelling is increased notoriety.
Okay.
And we've talked about cutting through the noise.
Yeah.
And this is how you do it. You know that old saying, do you want to be heard or remembered?
Right.
This is about being remembered.
Okay. I like where this is going. So it's not about just being the loudest voice in the room, but the one that sticks with people.
Exactly. The white paper actually cites this McKinsey study that found that only 5% of brands capture 95% of market visibility.
Wow.
Imagine that. If you're in that 5%, you're reaching almost everyone you need to.
Right.
And you can bet that translates into some serious savings, potentially on things like advertising and
Now that's efficiency.
Yeah.
And in the industrial world, relationships are king. How does branding play into that?
Yeah. I mean, trust and loyalty are absolutely essential, and a strong brand builds that over time. Plus, let's not underestimate the power of internal alignment. When everyone in your company, from the factory floor to the C-suite, understands and believes in the brand, it creates this really powerful sense of unity and purpose.
It's like a North Star, guiding everyone in the same direction.
Exactly.
So we've established that branding is important.
Yeah.
But the white paper also highlights some common pitfalls. It calls them aha moments for anyone involved in industrial branding.
Yeah.
Tell me more. What are some of the mistakes people often make?
Well, the first one is confusing identity with brand. Remember, it's not just about a new logo or a catchy tagline. It's about the story you tell, the value you offer, the entire experience you create.
It's got to be more than just a superficial makeover. You have to actually embody the brand.
Exactly. And that leads perfectly into the next pitfall.
Okay.
Rational versus emotional. Even when we're talking about B2B, where logic and technical specs matter, emotions can't be ignored. I mean, think about it. People are still making those buying decisions.
At the end of the day, we're all human, and we connect with things that resonate with us emotionally.
Yeah.
So how do you even begin to evoke emotion in something like industrial branding?
That is such a great question. And the white paper actually gives a good example of this. They were, I'm paraphrasing here, they were discussing a company that makes like high-powered pumps for industrial use.
Okay.
And instead of just showcasing the technical specs, they created marketing material that focused on the human impact. They talked about how these pumps brought clean water to remote villages or helped irrigate farms in drought-stricken areas. Suddenly, those pumps weren't just pieces of metal, right? They represented something much bigger.
That's a great example. Okay, what's the next pitfall?
The white paper calls it an over-reliance on internal perspectives. companies can get stuck in their own echo chambers, losing sight of how their brand is perceived from the outside.
Which is why getting that outside perspective, whether it's through customer feedback or by bringing in an agency like bb&b, is so valuable.
Yeah.
They can hold up a mirror to your brand.
Exactly. Now, the next pitfall is something I see a lot, and that's focusing on the product rather than the solution.
Okay.
It's easy to get caught up in the features and benefits of what you're selling.
Yeah.
But you need to connect those to the problems they solve for your customers.
So it's not about the drill, it's about the whole.
Exactly. In the industrial space, you're not just selling a product. You're selling efficiency, increased productivity, a solution to a specific problem.
It's about understanding your customers' needs and positioning your brand as the answer. What's the last pitfall?
Last one, desire versus reality.
Okay.
Companies often have these grand aspirations for their brand, but those aspirations need to be grounded in reality.
It's a reality check. Does the internal perception of the brand match how the market actually sees it?
Precisely. You have to be honest about where you are today to create a strategy that bridges that gap between aspiration and reality.
This section on pitfalls is pure gold. It's like getting a sneak peek into the common mistakes companies make.
Right.
But how do you actually go about building a strong industrial brand? I imagine it's not easy.
It's definitely a process, and fortunately, the white paper outlines bb&b's approach, which they emphasize, is both collaborative and insight-driven.
All right, let's dive into that. What's step one?
It all starts with analysis.
Okay.
They really want to understand the company, its market, its competitors, the whole picture.
Yeah.
It's like building a house. You need a solid foundation before you start putting up any walls.
So it's about getting the lay of the land before you even think about logos and taglines.
Exactly.
What happens after that initial analysis?
That's where the deep dive really begins. bb&b kicks off its information gathering phase. They hold these workshops with company stakeholders and conduct interviews with customers and, anyone else who can provide valuable insights.
I love that they're not just relying on what the company thinks it's all about. They're going straight to the source, the customers.
Exactly.
I love it.
And they use all of this information to develop what they call the brand platform.
Okay.
And this is where things get really interesting because this is where the brand starts to come to life.
Okay, so walk me through this. What exactly is a brand platform? I have to admit, I hear that term thrown around a lot, but I'm not sure I could actually explain it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people say that.
Right.
It's essentially the foundation upon which everything else is built. It defines what the brand stands for, its purpose, its values, how it wants to be perceived by the world.
Got it.
And bb&b breaks this down into several key elements. They always start with the brand vision.
So where does the brand see itself going?
Right.
What's the ultimate goal?
Yes, but it's important to keep it grounded in reality.
Right.
It's one thing to say, we want to be the leading innovator in our industry.
Yeah.
But if that doesn't align with the company's current capabilities or resources, it's just an empty aspiration.
It's about being ambitious, but also realistic. So what comes after the brand vision?
Next, they define the brand mission.
Okay.
So if the vision is the what, the mission is the how.
I like that.
It outlines the brand's purpose, what it sets out to do each and every day. And again, this needs to be, firmly rooted in the company's core competencies and values.
No pie-in-the-sky pronouncements. Just a clear and actionable statement of purpose. What's next?
From there, they move on to the brand essence. This is the heart and soul of the brand, distilled into its most concise form. It's like the elevator pitch
Okay.
that captures the essence of what makes the brand unique.
This is where things start to get really tangible. I bet you could sum up some iconic brands with just a few words that really capture their essence.
Absolutely.
Like what?
Think about Nike's Just Do It, or Apple's Think Different.
Okay.
These are more than just slogans, right? These encapsulate the core values and aspirations of these brands.
Totally.
And once bb&b has defined the brand essence, they often use it to develop a tagline or a key message that can then be used consistently across all brand communications.
That makes sense. So we've got the vision, the mission, the essence. What else goes into a brand platform?
They also identify the brand's core attributes.
Okay.
These are the key words or phrases that capture the brand's personality, its tone of voice, and what it wants to be known for.
So if you were to describe the brand to someone who'd never heard of it, these are the words you'd use. What about values?
Yes. You can't talk about branding without talking about values.
Right.
And this is where things go beyond just, words on a page. It's about identifying the core principles that guide the company's actions and decisions.
This is where it becomes crucial for brands to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. You can say you value sustainability, but are you actually implementing sustainable practices throughout your operations?
It's about authenticity and integrity. And in today's world, customers can spot a phony from a mile away, especially in the age of social media.
Oh, yeah.
They can easily call out a company that isn't living up to its stated values.
Totally.
Right.
It's about building trust, which, as we've already established, is paramount in the industrial space. What else is part of this brand platform?
Well, once they've established those core values, bb&b helps the company define its brand promise.
Okay.
This is what the brand pledges to deliver to its stakeholders, whether they're customers, employees, investors.
It's like a guarantee backed by the brand's reputation. It's a way of saying, this is what you can expect from us consistently and reliably.
Precisely. And often, they'll encapsulate all of this, the vision, mission, essence, values, brand promise, into what's often called a brand manifesto.
So it's like the brand's North Star.
That's a great way to put it. And what I find so fascinating about bb&b's approach
Yeah.
is that they don't just hand over this brand platform and say, here you go, good luck. They work with their clients every step of the way to ensure that the brand is consistently reflected in everything they do.
Wow.
From their marketing materials, to their customer service, to the way they answer the phone.
It's a holistic approach to branding.
It is.
And it makes sense. You've got to live and breathe your brand if you want it to resonate with people.
Absolutely. And that's one of the key takeaways from this white paper. Successful branding isn't a one-time project. It's an ongoing process.
It's about constantly evolving and adapting to the ever-changing landscape. Speaking of which, I want to make sure we have time to talk about digital branding. It seems like everything is online these days, and I imagine that's especially challenging in the industrial world, where relationships have traditionally been built face-to-face.
Yeah.
How do you even begin to tackle that?
It's definitely a shift. But the digital space offers some incredible opportunities for industrial companies to connect with their target audiences in new and innovative ways.
So how do you approach digital branding in the industrial world? Is it really that different from, say, branding a consumer product online?
There are some key differences, and the white paper highlights several important considerations. One of the most important is precision targeting.
So it's not about casting a wide net and hoping for the best.
Right, it's really not.
You can't just kind of throw it out there and see what sticks.
No, not at all.
You really have to be much more targeted.
Exactly. In the industrial world, you're often dealing with niche markets and highly specialized products or services. You need to know exactly who your ideal customer is and tailor your messaging accordingly.
It's like the difference between using a billboard and a laser pointer.
Yes.
You can get incredibly precise with who you want to reach. But how do you actually go about targeting your ideal customer in the digital space?
Well, that's where a deep understanding of the various platforms and their targeting options come in. You have to go where your customers are.
Okay.
For many industrial companies, that might be LinkedIn or industry-specific online forums,
Right.
or even targeted Google AdWords campaigns. It's about understanding their online behavior, right? What they search for, what they read, who they follow, and meeting them there with valuable content.
So it's all about that targeted content, but it has to provide value. You can't just be shouting into the void about how great you are.
Exactly. Nobody wants to be bombarded with sales pitches, especially in the industrial world. It's about building relationships.
Right.
And that starts with providing valuable content that addresses your customers' needs and pain points.
What are some examples of this kind of valuable content? I imagine it's got to be more than just posting pictures of your factory floor.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Think about the kind of information that would be genuinely useful to your target audience. It could be in-depth blog posts about industry trends, white papers that provide valuable research and insights,
Yeah.
case studies that showcase how you've helped other companies overcome similar challenges, even webinars or online workshops that allow you to share your expertise in a more interactive format.
It's about positioning yourself as a thought leader, not just a vendor.
Exactly.
And with digital, you can actually track the effectiveness of all of this content, right?
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
You can see exactly how many people are engaging with your content, who they are, what resonates with them. You can track website traffic, downloads, social media shares. All of these metrics provide valuable insights into what's working and what's not. It allows you to constantly refine your strategy and ensure that you're getting the most out of your digital branding efforts.
It's like having a feedback loop built right into your branding strategy.
Yeah.
Data for the win.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground today. We've talked about, the definition of industrial branding, the challenges, the importance of a strong brand platform, and the power of digital. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier. Storytelling.
Yes.
You mentioned that it's essential even in the industrial world.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because stories are powerful. They're how we connect with each other,
Right.
how we make sense of the world, how we remember things. In a world that's saturated with information, stories cut through the noise.
Totally.
And in the industrial world, where products and services can often feel, complex or even a bit dry, a compelling story can be the key to making your brand memorable and relatable.
So how do you tell a compelling story in the industrial space? It's not like you're selling adventure or romance here.
No, but it's about finding the human element in what you do. Instead of just talking about the features and benefits of your products, talk about the people who make them, the customers you serve, the positive impact you're making in the world. Maybe you helped a manufacturing plant reduce its carbon footprint, or enabled a small business to, increase its output and hire more employees. These are stories that resonate with people on an emotional level.
It's about showing, not just telling.
Exactly.
It makes sense. Stories help us connect with brands on a deeper level. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of industrial branding, what's the key takeaway you want our listener to walk away with?
I think the key takeaway is that branding in the industrial space is just as crucial as it is in any other sector.
Okay.
It's about crafting a brand that's clear, compelling, and authentic. And remember, it's an ongoing process. It's not a one-time project.
You have to live and breathe your brand, and you have to be willing to adapt and evolve as the world changes. This has been incredibly insightful. But as you know, we like to end our deep dives with a little something extra for our listeners to ponder.
Always love a good, thought-provoking question. What do you have for us today?
This white paper has given us a framework for understanding industrial branding.
Right.
But now it's time to put it into practice. Think about the brands you encounter in your own industry. What are some industrial brands you admire, and why? What is it about their branding that resonates with you?
That's a great question. I'm already starting to think about some examples.
Me too. It just goes to show that branding is all around us, even in the most unexpected places.
It makes you appreciate the thought and strategy that goes into crafting a successful brand. It's not easy.
It's not. But as we've learned today, it's absolutely essential. So there you have it, your deep dive into the world of industrial branding. Until next time.